There is a trend in modern Calvinism to call themselves compatibilists. The true definition for compatibilism is that free will and determinism are logical together. So the question needs to be asked, is it true that the modern Calvinist is a compatibilist? First, we must note that the Calvinist also claims to be a monergist, or they believe in Monergism, which by definition is that regeneration is all the work of God without any cooperation from man. They outright deny the doctrine of synergism as a false teaching, which believes that with regeneration man cooperates with God. So the question must be asked, can you be a monergist and also be a compatibilist? It is important to point out when you study monergism versus synergism that they both, if uninterrupted, lead to universalism when each one is taken to its logical conclusion. Both sides in the debate, Calvinist versus the non-Calvinist, for the most part will agree that we can narrow down the discussion to monergism versus synergism. Or you could say that the debate falls on where you place faith, either before regeneration or after it. Upon this belief of where you place faith, either before or after regeneration, will cause you to fall on either the side of monergism or synergism. I will argue that the monergist or monergism, I believe, leads down the road to the final conclusion that is defined as fatalism and therefore is incompatibilism. So again, can the monergist be a compatibilist? No, they cannot. It is by definition impossible. Compatibilism in its true definition falls into the category of synergism. This is historically the case. It has not been until the last 10 years or so that there has been an attempt to pull compatibilism in the direction of monergism as an attempt to deny fatalism. The reason the monergist wants to commandeer or steal compatibilism is that they do understand that at some point they cross over to fatalism in election and God does in fact become the author and creator of evil. So to feel better about their accusation about God, they try to hijack the term compatibilism and call it a paradox or a mystery. I believe there is no paradox or mystery in election if you view it the way that our side does. That compatibilism is categorized with synergism, not with monergism. I believe that if you place faith before regeneration is the only way to allow for compatibilism and be able to stop before you get to the possible radical falsehood of open theism or universalism, which I reject. When you place faith before regeneration is the only way that you can have an option of compatibilism without a paradox. The modern Calvinist is trying to tie compatibilism to monergism. This is intellectually impossible unless you introduce a paradox or mystery, which is what the Calvinist does. You must hold to synergism to even be able to invoke the compatibilist argument, as it is an argument against monergism. There is no paradox or mystery in synergism with compatibilism, as compatibilism includes the option by name. Co-incompatibilism shows that it falls in the category of synergism or cooperation, as man's free will is involved in determinism. Mono in monergism shows that it does not leave the option for compatibilism, thus the paradox or mystery is born. The Calvinist of necessity does not believe in moral responsibility, as they believe you will always choose hell by your God-ordained nature, which is really just an attempt to avoid fatalism by definition, but in fact embrace it by rationalization. The Calvinist definition of compatibilism does not include free will in the sense that the term originally was intended to represent. True compatibilism finds that free will and determinism are logical together. even when secondary causes are introduced, such as man having a sin nature. The Calvinist does not hold to compatibilism because they believe the sin nature is total inability to will or anything other than choosing hell. This is incompatibilism because man does not have a free will, but a will that is so depraved he could not do otherwise. Therefore, this is no free will at all. Remember, compatibilism holds that free will and determinism are logical together. The Calvinist believes that man's will is linked to man's nature in such a way that he will always choose hell because of the depravity of his nature is so depraved that man is unable to do otherwise. This goes against free will entirely and goes against compatibilism. If you must choose hell, then there is no free will in election. A will that is not able to believe on its own is never a free will. It is a will, but it is not free, and thus goes against the definition of compatibilism. This is why the Calvinist is by definition an incompatibilist, not a compatibilist. The true definition of compatibilism says that free will and determinism are logical together. This is metaphysically synergism by definition and logic. I too believe man is depraved and he cannot come to God unless God initiates salvation or draws him by conviction or revelation. But I am a true compatibilist as I believe man's will is free, and after God illuminates man by revelation and conviction, he is free to receive or reject the gospel because he always had a free will. This is true compatibilism. The reason man does not go to heaven is that he refuses the gospel freely because he would rather remain in his sin. This is the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. This is true compatibilism and necessarily synergistic because man is free to respond even with secondary causes such as his sin nature.